you know that you can pull off and pull that through on King's Row as well. I mean, dive is going to be kind of hard to pull through the second phase of this map with. So I'm curious as to why they're holding on to Takoyaki here.
Also, we have XZ, sorry, in the lineup as the McCree this time. And I'm actually surprised about that pick too. Maybe trying to stop a dive, maybe trying to stop a Somber, Doomfist, whatever Gen.G are throwing at them. XZ with the McCree will be the choice. And now Wuyao with a very good pick, but an even better wall from Sparkle to block that. Now Gen.G almost found a target, a victim to be frozen off. They did isolate Takoyaki, but he's safe for the moment. So Element Mystic trying to stabilize Hanbin. Oh, a great immortality saves them for the moment. Sparkle barely alive. Gen.G just clearing the tables and advancing towards the point to take it.
We see XZ in the back, try to get the Deadeye off and save the day, but that was really well played by Gen.G. A good execution. They pull Element Mystic forward with those hooks and then lock them in that position. That forces Element Mystic to play on the front of the point. They then can actually send their Hanzo Wikid to surround them. They have those off angles, they have the flank control to play with, and that exposes the entirety of the backline. Element Mystic cannot recede as well because they did have the wall behind them. So Gen.G, they know how to play this with this lineup here, and that's why we see Stalker for that Mei.
Oh, the hold, but it's Wuyao that goes in for the hook. Hanbin sticking to the Diva, which has been a struggle to keep that one going, and Gen.G throw in the Blizzard. He frees most of Element Mystic, who had no chance to hold on to this choke point. The real defender's advantage where Element Mystic was here, and Gen.G really riding this momentum right through.
Oh, this thing just going right on through. I mean, this payload, it's just cruising. Gen.G in control here on King's Row, and you can see why they wanted to pick this map. This is a map that they played against on week 7 versus Runaway. This is one where we did see this particular lineup actually toting the same kind of composition. Now Element Mystic trying to match it here. You can see how maybe they don't match up as well here. That's why they've played the different looks.
Gen.G always pulling the trigger first with the Dragon Strike. Element Mystic pushed off the wall to keep them closed in. It's Element Mystic get ready for their attack. It's the Blizzard, but it's the whole hop from Wuyao that pushes them all back. Element Mystic throws themselves down with the Coalescence. Gen.G with their own resources touted. Still keeping control of this payload. Gen.G still up in numbers. A Death Blossom, a very ambitious one from XZ, claims 3. And now with the 4th. This was what saves the fight, or makes it maybe still winnable for Element Mystic. Gen.G even threw the Blizzard to stop XZ, but you just can't. He's killing everyone, and even the children, and he just saved this fight single-handedly for Element Mystic.
That was such a good moment. This is, again, XZ's, this is time to shine, and he's doing just that. Here, we do see the ultimate coming out. The Death Blossom clearing the floor. That's 3, claims 2 at the very end by himself. Able to take down Stalker and then finish off Wuyao. That was insane. XZ lights out at the moment, and Element Mystic has this payload right where they want it.
And Gen.G, they know who they got to deal with now, and his name is XZ, and the Wuyao Diva swap is a smart one. You need to have a Matrix available for those Death Blossoms. That was way too free. Gen.G already starting to use their wall early. Wikid is low, and Stalker's out. Element Mystic, big advantage now with a Coalescence and a barrier to remaining forces. G, and still Element Mystic, this is exactly where they wanted the payload to be.
So halting it once again here, and this is where that clock just starts draining. Element Mystic in full control. They need to cycle their ults here, and as they do, they're just going to be taking a minute off of the clock with each and every attempt that comes from Gen.G. So they need to maintain that efficiency here. They could lock this payload down here for quite some time. Sparkle in a fantastic position to actually hold them there, isolate, and with that isolation, they can create picks without having to utilize their ultimate economy.
Oh, Sparkle is so ambitious. Locks him in with the monster himself. XZ with another Death Blossom to claim 1. Gen.G, they can't even run. They don't have a Lucio to help them do so. Gotta put on your best sneakers because Element Mystic are running after you. And Gen.G, all they can do is try and get away. And we all be frozen. The mech will be sacrificed. And they will stagger him even more.
Now Element Mystic backing off here again. They still have that Blizzard Sparkle. He's in such a good position to actually drop this as well. So now this is really going to come down to control of Divas because Stalker's getting close to his as well. This is going to be Blizzard versus Blizzard as both teams are really looking to try to put the pressure onto that defense matrix toting character. And as soon as they do, drop the Blizzard and go for the kills.
Gen.G actually taking a high ground approach, mainly to maybe set up Wiki in the best position possible. Blizzard, Death Blossom, and even a Coalescence to make sure Wiki stays alive. But equally, Element Mystic have a lot of dangers on their side. There's Wiki teleporting in, gets moved away. The Death Blossom not as dangerous. Takoyaki with 2, Element Mystic in the advantage. They still have a Blizzard, but Gen.G are still fighting back. Gen.G still have a chance, but they need to work on their resources. They need to stabilize here. They have low health pools. There's a Death Blossom from XZ. This will ward them up, but Wuyo with a 2K. This caught Element Mystic completely off guard, and now they have to run for the hills.
It's the exact same opening that we saw in Runaway versus Gen.G in week 7 with that 2K off of that, but again, re-instigating behind Unique Sound Barrier. They're gonna go in.
There's one self-destruct from Hanbin, explodes, nothing there. Gen.G need to heal up their main tank. Oberon is gonna be back into the picture. Stalker's low as well. Element Mystic freezing everyone in sight. XZ is following up as the Doomfist. Gen.G starting to lose. They have no damage dealers. They have a Coalescence to keep their front line alive, but Element Mystic will have their own Coalescence. This is where the resource balance will tip in their favor as they send Gen.G packing again.
And now Gen.G is going to be incredibly desperate in this position. They only have 15 seconds left at this point, and they have respawns to consider. They have a rotation back over to the point to consider. They don't even have their Lucio around, so who's even going to be able to contest? It would have to be Wuyall at this point, and he has to dive in. There's only 2 seconds remaining.
Gen.G have to touch. The wall stops them from getting there, and they will not achieve point B. So we thought Gen.G had a lot of momentum in that attack, but ran out of steam.
Element Mystic actually just siphoned all the gas out of their tanks, it seemed. I mean, they were able to take out what was effectively, you know, over 4 minutes at that point. We saw Gen.G winning those first 2 fights so easily, but then Element Mystic, the way that they're able to maintain their composure, I mean, you look at the way that they reinstigate that fight behind Unique, throwing out his sound barrier, they throw in 5 targets. I think they were even down a player at that point, but with through pure coordination, they were able to turn those fights around, and Gen.G, it just seemed like they were just caught slipping at that point. Element Mystic now, all they need is effectively point B, and they take this map, and they take the whole series along with it.
Moving to the grand finals, going to Gauntlet, but like we said at the start of the series, it's not the end of the road for Gen.G. In terms of Gauntlet, they will be fighting for a 3rd place spot for that final spot to go to Gauntlet. But I think the main turning point for me was XZ. On the Reaper, I know we touted him as, you know, a great Widowmaker, but the fact that he just 1v6 Gen.G, the whole point of an attack on King's Row is to snowball it as much as you can. And for Element Mystic to stop that snowball at point B, that was so much time Gen.G had to spend resetting up, to regain position, to retake that space. And they just never could. Ultimate to ultimate, Element Mystic always were winning defensively.
And now it's Gen.G's turn. If they can make the stop, hold in the choke, you know, do whatever they can to get a lead early on. That's what they have to do. We saw Gen.G against Runaway. They played this composition here, and what they did is they just tried to surround the enemy team. Well, you don't want to do that against Element Mystic here because they have the Pharah in tow, so it's a much different matchup. In fact, Sparkle is going to be trying to actually pull them into one single position like they did on Anubis.
And I think knowing that Gen.G are going to run a May, your number 1 answer could be the Pharah as long as you dodge those icicles. But Element Mystic taking camp onto the point. Oberon was low. The shield is already broken. A first take for Element Mystic. But still, Gen.G had a pretty quick attack on their own, so Element Mystic just keeping pace to Gen.G. Throw back their shield. They're ready, but XZ is catching them without a shield. The telephone booth is the only thing to protect them, and Element Mystic still in firm control and ready to take the point.
Yeah, and really, they just don't want to invest resources here if you're Element Mystic. However, Gen.G, they have to figure out a way to start dealing with these pressures. Do you take Wuyall off and actually go for the Diva? It looks like they're already making the other swaps to actually take this new composition back up, and that's exactly what they're doing. You need the Diva because here's the problem. Element Mystic, they completely overpowered you in shield pressure in that last fight, so you need to start making slight adjustments to try to alleviate that problem. This is going to allow them now to be more aggressive. They're going to be able to play a little bit more forward, enable Wikid, get Stalker forward as well, and try to go for some shutdowns on those exposed frontline players.
Yeah, Gen.G just can't afford to lose any players here. The shield putting far forward. Gen.G want to take as much space as possible to see if they can force another fight if they lose this one. There's a Dragon Strike from the attack. Wards off Gen.G. They have them split, raining it down again. Sparkle too far up to get as much damage as he would like. Still finds Oberon with just fine. Now make it 2. Gen.G completely team wiped. Need to get out. See if they can force one last fight before Element Mystic take the series.
Look at this across the board. Gen.G, I mean, Stalker, yes, he's getting close to the Blizzard, but they can't set it up early, and Element Mystic will be able to fire back. They have the Transcendence to sustain through it. They have the set bomb that could come in from Hanbin. Definitely look out for the set bomb from Hanbin. He could actually just close this fight out right here.
And he throws it on in into the back. Gen.G ran as fast as they could past it. Touching the payload. 2 meters left separates between the winner and someone who's trying to survive in the series. XZ with 2! The star player we haven't seen since week 1 wins 1v6, takes 3, and it's annihilating Gen.G from this planet who are trying to hold on to the payload. The last Transcendence, the last goodbye. Element Mystic take the 3-0, and we'll move on to the grand finals.
And just like that, Element Mystic making a return, 3-0. They made it look easy. Gen.G, they finished this regular season in second place, a comfortable second place, and they are bowing out now, or at least now moving into that third place match. Yes, they do still have a chance to have that spot in the gauntlet, but Element Mystic, they've locked one in.
Oh, everyone looks like they're about to faint on this side of Element Mystic. Probably one of the quickest semifinals. I don't think anyone expected this scoreline. This is second place Gen.G, who looked like they had the meta in the bag. They had the best players, it seems, from Korea. Look here, you're even seeing Element Mystic dance. That is confidence speaking to walking into the series, taking a 3-0 as quick as they did, and Element Mystic just look shook.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like Gen.G right now, they don't know how to react at this point, right? I mean, how do you react? I mean, you had that decent game in week 7. Yes, it looks like they were in the early stages of figuring out how they wanted to play the May Reaper, but they beat out Runaway in that matchup. They had plenty of time to prepare, you know, just as much as any other team, especially given the fact that they were already locked into playoffs for so long, right? I mean, they had established themselves locked into the playoffs very early on alongside O2 Blast. So they had plenty of time to prepare and get into this playoff. But again, the creativity that we see displayed by Element Mystic as these two teams shake hands and say GG's, but right there, that's it. I mean, Element Mystic dominated this matchup, and it was not close.
I still can't believe that scoreline. Element Mystic now have moved themselves into a gauntlet position, and Gen.G will be facing off against the loser of the next semifinal of O2 Blast and Runaway to see who will get that final spot into gauntlet. So if you're a Gen.G fan, you're maybe sad about their playoff journey ended here after such a fantastic finish of the regular season, but representing your region and your team in a worldwide stage, I think is what's going to matter a lot for Gen.G.
Yeah, absolutely. That, as we talked about at the beginning of this broadcast, Gauntlet is kind of, you know, it's the key. It's everything for these teams. So while you do bow out of that contention for finals here, Gen.G, they have to make sure that they keep their chins high, right, or keep their chins up here. They have to keep their heads high. They have to make sure that they're staying focused on what's ahead of them. And that right there is the decider match that's going to be tomorrow before the grand finals. Again, like you said before, just the loser of the next semifinal, they're going to be taking them on. But this is a moment here where you have to go ahead and say, you know what, we took the L, but we still have another match ahead of us. We still have to figure out what kind of things we did wrong and work through this sadness that we're feeling right now, work through these feelings that we have right now, and get focused on the next objective, which is winning that third place, getting a spot in the gauntlet.
And you thought that maybe, you know, Gen.G getting a bye into the semifinals, they didn't have to reveal their cards. And they kind of played what they did in week 7, both with Stalker, both with Glister, trying to figure out what was working, what was not. We saw in Anubis their main issue was not swapping to the right composition, and mainly Element Mystic so strong on the fire, which completely shut them down and made Anubis as quick as it was. So Gen.G have one last chance to prove themselves, and it will be in the third place match. And who will await them will be the loser of this next match. It's Runaway versus O2 Blast, the rematch. Again, both of these semifinals were rematches, but the rematch that I think everyone was stunned by. Runaway were the Kings last season, thought everyone was good, thought they were going to go to grand finals, and O2 Blast were the ones to put the stop there. Will they put the stop again? Will they put the brakes on Runaway's journey in playoffs? We're going to throw it to a quick break. And when we get back, we'll see who will be the grand final opponent of Element Mystic.